Hello teachers! This video is going to look at how you teach groups. Okay, first things first. You really need to look at video number 4 on simultaneous learning to understand this video. Okay, now many of the issues dissolve when teaching groups if you apply the simultaneous learning approach. Again, that's my previous video. Within this approach, it's quite simple to teach groups of 2, 3, 4 or even more. Now, some golden rules in group teaching. Avoid dividing up your time. For example, if you've got 2 students on a 40-minute lesson, avoid teaching 2 20-minute individual lessons. This is a big no-no. It will be inevitable that while you do that, the other learner kind of sits there and basically fiddles away. Another big golden rule would be to always plan your group lessons. Careful planning in these lessons is absolutely essential. The old adage, as it goes, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Within your lesson planning, you also need to plan for the differences in level between students, even if slight. Okay, let's do an imaginary lesson starter, putting all this into practice. So you begin with some warm-ups. The pulse is very discernible. You do your warm-ups in time. Then you move on to some call and response work. You might tell the children, I want a really rich tone today, like chocolate fudge cake. You play a G, for example, on all 4 beats, probably because the piece you're studying is in G. It makes sense. Then the students respond as a group. Then you might repeat a couple of times the phrase, like you're improvising. You might play it loudly at first, and then maybe soft, as the students copy. Within the same scale framework, which of course is G, you choose other notes and you start improvising. Gradually you build up small melodies around G major, possibly even building up to the whole scale. You might bring in 2, maybe 3 notes, maybe in legato, following scale patterns, possibly from the piece. Now you direct your call and response to individual pupils. This is one area immediately where you can differentiate your level to suit the student. You indicate exactly who is going to respond during the call, and off you go. For the more advanced student, you build in more notes, more complex rhythms, and there you have it. You keep the pulse going throughout. You might give pupils a second go if they didn't get the response correct. You might do this without commenting initially. However, maybe later you can comment, make a point possibly to the learner. Oh, that note was a bit bumpy, perhaps, or your shoulders were a bit stiff. This again would be an example of differentiated instruction. If you spot some technical elements, you could simply just say, oh, your shoulders look a bit stiff. Or use the learners within the room. Wow, look how well Tim's holding his shoulder. You can also ask questions such as, what does legato mean? What key are we playing in? Always waiting for answers. Now you're hoping to build up to the ultimate question, which is, of course, Tom, what are your special ingredients this week? You would hope this individual would respond with a 2-bar phrase which I've composed based on 3 ingredients from the piece. You then respond, can you play it for us? He does, and then that leads into some questions and some question and answer work based on Tom's phrase. Of course, it's an example of improvisation, but it's also an example of higher order thinking, how he's used the ingredients. At this stage, Tom could probably lead the whole group. He could definitely lead some question and answer work. This again is an example of differentiation, how you've successfully tailored for his higher level. Following that activity, it might be a good time to write the new dynamic down in our notebooks, perhaps also in our practice books. And so the session continues and continues and continues in this way. Now what this example demonstrates is that all students are engaged continuously and musically at their individual level in simultaneous learning. Both pupils have responded and engaged musically, and the key point is that both students are continually musically occupied and are supporting each other through the lesson. It would also be good practice to have the students share a music stand. Again, that kind of involves them together in the lesson. My example also showed how continuous connections through simultaneous learning were constantly built through the lesson. And it's also worth noting that you should make links to previous material. Never ever start at bar 1 unless there's something amazing in bar 1. and continuously make reference to practice as you go. Another great method for differentiation within groups is to play music with several parts. Of course, the parts will be appropriate for their individual level. The very best teachers make their own arrangements with many parts at many different levels applicable to many students. When you're teaching in groups using the simultaneous learning method, it's very rare that you'll need to give individual attention to students. In fact, as I already explained, this needs to be avoided at all costs. However, should a pupil need slightly longer on the very rarest of occasions, then the other students could be commenting or watching or practicing something silently, or maybe practicing something in their heads, a rhythm perhaps, maybe writing something in their practice or manuscript book, or helping out the learner in that individual situation.